Hey guys, so today we're going to be looking at attacking with Omen on split. So first of all, we're going to have a look at the default smokes. So my first default smoke for this site is to use a smoke to block this line of sight from anyone in sight. So your team can either rotate up ramps or you can push into sight using this smoke as cover. So you want this one as far left as possible while still blocking line of sight on the right hand side of the corridor. So just over the lip here. So this still blocks line of sight on the right side and also from heaven down into A main. And then you can use this smoke to sneak into sight and come out the left side quickly, and then you're obviously covered with this box from anyone playing behind there, and you just have to worry for people in this area. The second default smoke is to smoke up the top of this ramp. This way your team can push quickly into sight like this, instead of having to worry about people holding them from this angle. Also, if you place the smoke with enough cover so you can come out the back of it, you can come out the back and then peek around this corner, which is a bit unexpected in case someone is playing close by the smoke. So first, let's have a look at the plays you can do using this smoke. So it's around here. But if I am going to be pushing into sight, I'll also want to smoke heaven. With this smoke, so I'll just come up here to make it easy to see. You want to be smoking right to the edge of the platform, because if you place it too far back, say here, an enemy player can still push out the smoke, staying on the platform and get an angle onto you, which you don't want to do. You want to force them to come to this area because they have a worse angle onto A main. Right, so let's have a look at some of the plays you can do using these smokes. So we've got our first one down here, second one onto the window here. So pretty obvious this one, come in this smoke and teleport up onto heaven. When you're doing this, try not to go into the smoke, because it's pretty likely that someone will just be holding this angle waiting for the Omen to use this smoke as cover to jump up. So they might be holding you and you'll just die instantly. But if obviously you come up here using the smoke as cover and push through the smoke, you'll have your gun up and have a chance in the fight. It's more sort of a 50-50 rather than you getting killed whilst you teleport. So again, with a similar setup, or with the same setup, with these two smokes, it's pretty predictable if you do that every time. You just come into this one, they'll hear the teleport noise and you go up into heaven. So instead you can actually come to this side of the smoke and teleport into the back of sight. And from here, obviously because the window's blocked, you can push around into elbow and either up into heaven, or you can hold this slightly odd angle where they won't expect you to be able to shoot them from. And again, with the same setup, you can even do a fake teleport or just teleport right into this corner. So from here, they'll have heard you teleport and think you're either gone into the back of sight or gone up to heaven, and then they might come and someone from screens might say push around into elbow to kill you, and as they push into sight, you'll be able to get them from this slightly odd angle that they might not expect. Next, let's have a look at using this smoke on the ramp for a bit of outplay maneuvers. So you can use this smoke. Obviously, you can just come out the back of it and peek it. Again, this will just be a 50-50 duel. Or you can use it as cover and teleport back into this corner, turn around, and if there's anyone in this area watching the smoke, you'll be able to kill them. And once you peek this door, the person at the back there, if they're holding the angle, will be expecting someone to push from ramps or even behind the smoke, but they won't be expecting someone close to this door, so you might get them off guard because the crosshair placement won't be where you are. And if you know that heaven's clear, but you know people are rotating from ropes, you can just teleport across, obviously. And either go back round into their spawn, or hold the angle from the odd angle where they might be holding the doorway, and you can get across and just peek them unexpectedly. There are a few pretty decent teleports on this site as well. Quite often, if you keep on pushing A, it's likely this will either get smoked or walled off, and maybe enemies push into this area, or they're holding it from inside. You can jump up onto here. And from here, you can obviously kill anyone in this area. You can peek anyone holding from the right side of this corridor. You can even peek elbow and the screens. And also, if someone, say, you've smoked off this area and you think someone's crossed over to the other side to peek your team that side, you can quickly peek here and check that out. If you're up in heaven in a post plant and you know that they're in sight, either like holding an angle or you need to get down without them knowing where you are, you can do a few teleports. You can teleport there, you can teleport into elbow, especially if someone's under heaven. You can actually teleport onto this box, so you have to sort of jump and jump back, like that. And then, especially if the spike's planted here, they won't expect you to be up here. They'll hear the teleport and think like you've come into this angle and are about to peek them like this. But if you come from up there, there's no way they're going to expect that. If you know that they're coming through their own spawn, you can teleport across this gap like this. Especially if they don't know if anyone's in sight and they know you're in heaven. This will just be a slightly odd angle to expect if they know you're up there. Another one to get a quick off angle is just this one right at the start of the round. And if anyone is holding the angle from the top of ramps, you'll catch them off guard because they'll obviously be thinking you're there, not over there. They might hear this teleport, but if your team is making a bit of noise, or if they're shooting someone in this corridor, they won't expect you to just come across. And even if someone's pushing out this angle, and no one's been seeded across this area, you can always hold this angle, and as they aggressively push your team, you should be able to take them out quite easily. And especially if you have a teammate holding the cross, they'll be in a crossfire and they'll be easily eliminated. Next, let's have a look at attacking mid. Obviously, the two common smokes are vents and also to smoke mail. You want to place them as far back as possible, because if you place them out here, obviously they can sneak out to this box. So if you place them like that, as they push out of this, they'll be coming straight into the open with no cover, and you just be able to take them out. Very similar thing with this smoke. And these ones you can just use to get control of mid at the start of the round. One nice variation of the one for vents is to put the smoke here, so in the same place, but put it up in the air. And this just lets your teammate peek, and as the smoke's falling, get shots, and then they'll be in cover. So if your teammate's got a good shot, that's always a good idea. Make sure you call it if you're planning that though. If your team's just pushing from this side, it's pretty common just to smoke vents. But maybe if you want to catch people off guard if they're holding the angle from heaven, jump across this gap, and then you'll be peeking from the opposite side that they expect. Catch them off guard. I'd be wary of pushing into vents if your smoke's there, because obviously they might just be sitting inside the smoke waiting for someone to push through, and that's a difficult fight. But you can actually use your teleport either to get back into the corner, hopefully be behind anyone, or from the smoke you can actually teleport into vents, into this little area. And if they're down here or if they're on the rope holding an angle, you should be able to get them easily. Finally, let's have a look at B site. If you're just pushing B, it's quite dangerous. And if you don't have a sage, it's very hard if this is an angle or isn't locked off. So you can put a smoke here. This will cover you from heaven. Pretty much covers you the whole side. There'll be a small gap one of the sides, but as long as you run past, it's fine. If you want to get into site quickly, you can actually teleport this gap. Obviously, be careful if there's anyone hiding around this corner or in the back of site, but if they've been cleared out, you can either teleport across here, or again, here, and I'll never know which angle you're going to pop out if you do that mix up every few rounds. If you are teleporting across this gap and you're scared someone is in the back, you can always teleport more to the left, as long as they're not peeking you, obviously. And then you'll be covered from that side. Obviously not this part of site, but if you know someone's in this area and not on that gantry, going there, you might be able to catch them off guard. Or if they're holding tight to this corner, say with a shotgun, you'll be able to get them, or up there. Just make sure you turn as you teleport. One quite nice little trick I like is you can use this smoke as a falling smoke. So place it up in the air. Obviously still blocks the same line of sight, but you can jump up onto this box as you do it. And as it falls, they won't be expecting someone up here, because obviously you wouldn't expect an attacker up here at all. And if they can't hit the teleport, you should be able to pick someone off like this. Just be careful again, people at the back of sight. There is actually some decent spots to smoke heaven. The easiest one to block it all off is just on top of this platform here. So as far right as possible. And that blocks it nicely. It gives a little bit better coverage. So let's have a look at it from this angle. Can't really see anything else. It just gives a little bit better coverage than smoke in the window, but obviously you can do both. If you are using just this smoke to get into sight, one thing you can do is actually push through it. But obviously not just like this, because they'll be watching from heaven. Especially if you use this smoke to block line of sight, they'll still be watching the smoke. But you can use your teleports to teleport anywhere underneath heaven. And they won't be expecting you to be at this angle. Or if you know someone's playing that side of sight, again using this smoke, push through it. You want to be in the middle here so that you're not completely revealed if they're playing tight to that corner, and then you can push around. And then either into their spawn if there's no one there, or you can teleport up to heaven and push around. In a post plant, and the enemies know you're in heaven, and you don't want to be peeking this angle, especially if the spike's around here, because they might just be able to see your head quickly. You can teleport down, either here, then you can push around, obviously. Because if the spike's here as well, they might be holding the angle like this. So if you can get down this side quietly, then they won't know which way around the pillar you're coming. Or again, you could just go down here if they're just at the back of sight, just to be at a slightly odd angle, because they won't have seen you come down. You can even do it like from this cover, so they won't be able to see you at all here. You can jump and get it. Peek out like that. Another nice way to chain the teleports together is to come here. Again, making sure no one's in the back of sight. If you can get around, normally people aren't on the gantry there, you can teleport across this gap. and as long as no one's in the spawn, you can go around up into heaven, and that's a pretty unexpected way to get into heaven. Either hold the spawn for rotations, or go up into heaven and get behind anyone there. And if you can get across the whole site without anyone seeing you, it would be very unexpected. Another nice teleport is just to go across this gap. Very similar to the other ones. If someone's holding an operator angle down this side, they'll be holding to the left side. Whereas if you're here, peek them out, you should be able to get them. Also from this angle, they'll be less in cover than from this angle, because the wall will be covering them a bit less, so you might get more shots on their body, or even get them through this wall. Just like that. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out my other guide for Haven, and I'll have more Omen guides coming in the next few days. Thanks for watching!